Governor Bello Matawalle of Zamfara State commends journalists serving in the state. 12 days to convention, APC holds forums, governors divided. Films partner to train youth in film and TV production. On business, NNPC fails to account for 107 million barrels of crude oil. On international news, Russia and Ukraine to resume conflict talks. On sports, Igavon to drop 2 players for Ghana clash. Hello there, thanks for joining us. This is Standard Voice Television News. I am Rama Ibrahim Dusara and here are the news in full. Governor of Zamfara State, Honorable Bello Muhammad Matawalle Maradun, has rated high the role being played by the conventional media as a good partner in the social and economic development of the state. This hint was dropped at the weekend by the State Commissioner of Information, Honorable Ibrahim Magaji Dosara, while receiving members of the NUG Correspondence Chapel Committee writing a book titled Governor Matawalle in the Eyes of the Press, being part of the forthcoming May 2022 activities to mark the governor's 3rd anniversary in office. Sumaya Dosara reports on the story.
Honorable Ibrahim Magaji Dosara explained that the media, particularly the representatives working in the state, have demonstrated a high sense of professionalism in carrying out their responsibilities, especially in handling issues and security situations. The commissioner further explained that the governor was ever committed to working hand in hand with the media and also ready to confide in them for partnership in an effort to upgrade the economic profile of the Zamfara state. Earlier, Chairman of the 3-year anniversary book writing committee, Malam Abbakar Kabara, told the commissioner that the purpose of the visit was to inform him of the plans by the NUG Chapel to also participate in the activities to mark the forthcoming anniversary event. Malam Kabara explained that the State NUG Correspondent Chapel has been closely observing, assessing and evaluating the stewardship of Governor Matawalle in the past 3 years and therefore believes that the chapel is in relevant position to record, document and showcase the outstanding work, the silent achievement recorded by the governor within the 3 years of his administration. Sumaya Dosa reporting for Svtv News.
KAP Film and Television Academy in partner with MasterCard Foundations, Young Africa Works has announced the commencement of its application to train youth in film and TV production. This was disclosed in a statement signed by the film director Kunle Afolayan on Monday in Lagos State, noting that the selection process will take gender balance into consideration to allow for adequate participation of women. The application, which is now open to young men and women between the ages of 20 and 35 across Nigeria, is targeted at people passionate about film and television production. The academy is focused on growing the next generation of skilled filmmakers through the tutelage of veterans and film professionals who provide hands-on experience in diverse aspects of filmmaking to enrolled students. Mr. Afolayan added that 40% of intending candidates will be selected from low-income backgrounds. He said successful program applicants will become the first set of beneficiaries in the training scheme that will formally commence in May 2022. 12 days to the National Convention of the All Progressive Congress. The ruling party has failed to sell forms to aspirants, while all the committees set up by the APC to ensure that the convention moves smoothly have failed to begin sitting. Newsmen learned that the governors were still very much divided on who the consensus candidate should be. An APC chieftain who craved anonymity told newsmen that so far it did not seem as if the party would be holding its convention on March 26th. He said so far none of the chairmanship aspirants had agreed to step down for anyone, while no meetings had been held with any of them by the governors. For more on the story, Rafi Amenasara reports.
The chieftain added by now, the governors ought to have started meeting with chairmanship, expressed with a view to getting some of them to step down. But because they are now divided into separate camps, they cannot agree on anything. There has been no negotiation with any chairman aspirant. He added they are not even selling forms yet, but 20 committees headed by governors were set up last week, and none of them have started anything meaningful, and they have just 11 days to go. He further explained that as things stand, it is doubtful if the March 26 convention will hold, adding that the three most important figures in the conversation are the president, the party chairman, and the national secretary, and the three of them are not available at the moment. Also, Nisman learned that as of Monday, the court injunction barring the APC from holding its convention had not been vacated. Rafia Minasara, reporting from SBT.
The Managing Director, Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, Professor Adesuji Adesugba, has reiterated the federal government's commitment toward ensuring eligible Nigerians are gainfully employed across the country. Part of measures put in place to achieve this, Professor Adesugba said, was the creation of 43 free trade zones across the nation. He added that the trade zones will create employment opportunities and reduce youth restiveness in Nigeria, thereby ensuring the younger generations contribute meaningful to nation building. Professor Adesuba gave the assurance while speaking in Lagos during the breakfast forum tagged Non-Oil Export Situation Reports the Way Forward organized by the Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce. He said the free trade zone as well as special economic zones provide the panacea to reinvigorate the non-oil sector in the face of dwindling and unstable revenue from oil, rising demands from foreign exchange insecurity, and external debt. For unlawful exclusion of the names of two senior staffs of the National Examination Council, the National Industrial Court sitting in Abuja has set aside the November 13th of 2021 promotion examination conducted by the council. The senior staff, Mr. Charles Bad and Dr. Antonia Uto, had approached the court with a suit challenging the exclusion of their names from the list of staff billed for the council's promotion examination in the 2021. The trial judge, Justice O.Y. Anuwe, had in the judgment delivered on February 25, 2022, a copy of which was made available to newsmen, declared that the omission of the names of the claimants from the list of staffs of NACO shortlisted for the said promotion examination was discriminatory, biased, and unlawful. The trial judge held that the claimants, who are assistant directors in grade level 13 from 1st January 2017, are due and eligible for consideration for promotion to grade level 14 in the 2021 promotion exercise. The judge also ordered the defendants to strictly comply with the public service rules by giving equal and fair opportunities to all eligible and qualified staff of the council, including the claimants in the suit marked to participate in the exercise. Ramatu Yakubu Abakari, wife of the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abakari, slumped shortly after a federal high court Abuja adjourned the bail application of her husband till March 28, 2022. Justice Emeka Inwiti fixed March 28 for ruling on the bail motion filed by Ramatu's husband and others after their lawyers and the prosecution counsel argued their position for and against the request. Justice Nwite, who adjourned the ruling, ordered Kari and other police officers seeking for a bail to be remanded in the custody of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency pending the determination of the matter. Zainab Abdulwasir reports.
The middle-aged woman, who wore a black hijab, however, fell on the floor while armed operatives of the NDLEA were leading Kari and the others away from the court premises. Though she appeared lifeless on the floor, she was quickly carried up and rushed inside one of the offices on the third floor of the court by some officials of the NDLEA and lawyers. The development delayed the NDLEA officers from conveying the defendant to their office as they waited for Kari outside the court premises for about 45 minutes before he was led into the waiting vehicle. His wife later came out with the aid of members of families and friends who assisted her out of the court. The NDLEA had filed an 8-count charge against Kyari and others, bordering on alleged drugs trafficking. I am Zainab Abdulwasiu reporting for Standard Voice Television.
After 8 years in office, Willie Obinayo, governor of Anambra State, is finally set to hand over to Professor Charles Soludo. Ahead of Soludo's swearing in on Thursday, March 17, Governor Obiano has sacked all his political appointees. The governor announced the dissolution of his cabinet members and the termination of all the political appointees with effect from Wednesday, March 16, 2022. The governor explained that this was to prepare for the incoming government of Professor Charles Soludo to take over on Thursday, March 17, 2022. Newsman gathers that Governor Obiano, in a notice signed by the Secretary to the Anambra State Government on Monday, March 14th, Professor Solo Chukwu Lobelu, urged all cabinet members and aides to hand over to the most senior officers in their respective ministries. Obiano is expected to hand over to the incoming governor on March 17th when his 8 years two-term tenure expires. And in business news,
Audio Jungle.
the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation has said the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has failed to account for about over 107 million barrels of crude oil lifted for domestic consumption in 2019. The office made the allegation on its 2019 audit report presently being considered by the Committees on Public Accounts at the Senate and House of Representatives. According to the reports, about 22,929.84 liters of premium motor spirits valued at 7.6 billion naira and pumped to the two depots Ibadan Ilorin and Aba Enugu between June and July 2019 were not received by the depots. These are part of the issues raised by the office in the 6 audit queries issued against the NNPC. The report had noted discrepancies between the amounts reported by the NNPC as transferred to the Federation's account and what was reported by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And in international news,
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
conflict talks between Russia and Ukraine are set to resume Monday, negotiators and the Kremlin have said after both sides hailed progress at earlier rounds aimed at ending more than 2 weeks of fighting. The talks will resume by video conference on Monday. Mikhailo Podolak, an advisor to the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and part of the negotiating team, said late Sunday. The confirmation of the next round of talks came after both sides said they were making headway at the negotiations aimed at ending more than 2 weeks of direct fighting between the Russian and Ukrainian armies. Leonid Slutsky, a senior member of Russia's negotiating team, told newsmen that significant progress was made following several rounds of talks hosted on the border of neighboring Belarus. Negotiators from Moscow and Kyiv have held several rounds of talks since Putin sent in troops to the country. Turkey this week hosted a first meeting between the Russian and Ukrainian foreign ministers. And on sports news, Super Eagles coach Austin Iguavon will drop 2 players from the 25-man squad ahead of their crucial World Cup Qatar 2022 playoff round tie against the Black Stars. The first leg is billed for March 25th at the Cape Coast Stadium, with the reverse fixture scheduled for the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, 4 days later. Iguavon had on March 4th released a provisional list of 32 players with 25 players on the main list and 7 on the standby. Newsman reports that the coach will announce his final squad list of 23 players for the game before the team's departure to Accra, Ghana next Wednesday, March 23rd, 2 days after the team's camp opens in Abuja. It was also learned that the Super Eagles will depart Abuja next Wednesday aboard a chartered flight for the game. That's all for today's package, but before we go, a quick look at the major headlines. Governor Bello Matawale of Zamfara State commends journalists serving in the state. 12 days to convention, APC holds forums, governors divided. Films partner to train youth in film and TV production. On business, NNPC fails to account for 107 million barrels of crude oil. On international news, Russia and Ukraine to resume conflict talks. On sports, Iguavon to drop 2 players for Ghana clash. That was a recap on the major headlines. On behalf of the production crew, head of news and current affairs, I still remain Rahma Ibrahim. Do have a nice day and keep watching Standard Voice Television.